We believe that the pursuit of a greater purpose will result in all of us getting exactly what it is we want to have. But we're going to begin by looking at who is it that we want to be. All I'm asking you today is to think about taking another step in your own growth as leaders. Wouldn't it be great if when you got up in the morning and you put your feet on the floor that you thought to yourself, I'm going off to create the kind of world that I want to live in, and I get paid for that. I mean, what a wonderful way to live your life.
Andrew Bennett, Inspiration at Work.
Visions. Henry Ford, 1908. You have to remember, what's the predominant mode of transportation in 1908? Horse and buggy. So you have to put yourself in that mindset to appreciate this vision. This is the original vision statement as offered by Henry Ford in 1908. I'm going to read this out loud. I know that's a little elementary, a little parochial, but this is a great vision statement. We will build a motor car for the great multitude. It will be so low in price that no man making a good salary will be unable to own one and enjoy with his family the blessing of hours of pleasure in God's great open spaces. When we're through, everybody will be able to afford one, and everyone will have one. The horse will have disappeared from our highways, the automobile will be taken for granted, and we will give a large number of men employment at good wages. And what's happened? Now, we probably don't appreciate that because we weren't around in 1908 driving horse and buggy, but isn't that amazing? He changed society with that vision. Now, the reason that I share this with you is this is a compelling vision. This is not about how Ford Motor Company is going to become the #1 provider of automobile transportation, you know, like they typically write in a annual report. This is the kind of vision that goes in and grabs your heart. I mean, if I were around in that day and age, I could get excited about that. I may not give a damn about Ford Motor Company being successful. I mean, most vision statements are not compelling to most people that work in the organizations. I'm sorry. I'd love to tell you that people are concerned about the success of Capital Bancorp, that they know that their job security is tied to your success, and therefore they're concerned about the success of the company, but that's just not the truth. Most people don't think that way. When you have a vision statement that's about something bigger, you know, that people are searching for meaning. People are craving for meaning. And so when they have something like this, wow, watch out.
All great achievements begin with inspiration. Andrew Bennett has devoted most of his life to building inspiring organizations and helping people get meaning from their work. He is the president of Bennett Performance Group, an organization he founded in 1997. Bennett Performance Group works with clients all over the world, including Motorola, Abbott Laboratories, Sun Microsystems, Lockheed Martin, Host Marriott, and Ford Motor Company. Andrew shares hard-earned, in-the-trenches wisdom about the power of inspiration to create breakthroughs in growth, productivity, and innovation. A member of London's prestigious Magic Circle, Andrew uses world-class magic as a metaphor for the principles he teaches and to punctuate and energize his presentations.
I grew up in Beulah, Michigan, and I had a wonderful childhood where when we sat at the dinner table in the evening, dinner was kind of an event on the farm. We started dinner about 6 o'clock, and it usually went on until 9 o'clock. Grandpa would tell stories, and he was a banker, and he would teach me about amortization tables and everything. You know, here you are, 12 years old, learning amortization tables. And then usually at the end of the night, I would show a magic trick that I'd been practicing, and the next morning when I got up to go to school, in front of my plate at breakfast would be an envelope that would either have a routine that my grandfather had written for the magic trick that I had done the night before. All the jokes, the routine, or he would have drawn, he liked to draw cartoons. He'd draw a cartoon of me performing that magic trick. It was a wonderful container to grow up in, and one that has served me well, my grandparents. My granddad's been gone for 22 years. And yet that container that he helped create still lives on. A container is a powerful thing. And if you think about a container, here's an example. Here's a glass. And I think that's what we've been trying to do in this town hall process, is we've tried to create a container in each session that we went to where people were able to come and feel safe and to be a part of that and to contribute their ideas. And so this kind of represents the collective input of people through the process. Now, we started the process with Patty and her staff, back in December of last year. And we finished it in Boston in June. And so in between June and now, and while all this process has been going on, here's the tricky part. You ready? Your thoughts and ideas have been kind of incubating, if you will. And you just had them unveiled in this wonderful video, but I'm just going to let these kind of incubate. This is the container that we've created in the town hall process. Now, the hope is that that container is strong enough that it continues past the town hall process, that it now becomes the container that you all carry around with you, that vision, mission, values are the boundaries of this container within which we can all share new ways of thinking with each other so that we create something sustainable for the future. Now let me introduce a deck of playing cards. And these represent our different thoughts and ideas and dreams and hopes. There are lots of different thoughts and ideas and dreams and hopes that are represented by the different playing cards here. Now, in most organizations, and many of us have experienced this, most of the time, our thoughts and ideas and dreams and hopes and aspirations are unfortunately kept under lock and key. It's a holy deck. But what we hope the container does is create a place where those hopes and dreams and thoughts and ideas, your aspirations, where they don't remain locked up. Because if they do remain locked up, then we're going to remain trapped in our old thinking, and that's not going to help us solve tomorrow's problems. So we'll kind of demonstrate this. If I could have some house lights, please. And I'm just going to remove the lock. And Michael, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
See, he's all ready to go. He's ready to choose a card. I'm going to run through the cards like so, and I want you to tell me whenever your intuition tells you, just tell me when to stop. Right there? All right, I'd like you to look at that card. Doesn't matter if I see it. Got it? All right, now we're going to lock the cards up. And again, most of the time our thoughts and ideas, hopes, dreams, aspirations remain under lock and key. And I'm going to hand them to you. Now I'm going to step away. And what I'd like you to do is, first I have to do something magical. Wave the hands, say the magic word I learned in church, bingo. And now, if you will, run through the cards, and I'd like you to just do this quickly. Just stop whenever you get to your card. Keep going. Just stop when you get to your card. And it's not there.
Right.
That's because the container that we've created is a place where your thoughts and ideas and dreams and hopes and aspirations can come true. And while this has been sitting incubating, the Seven of Hearts. That's it. So that's the idea, that through vision, mission, and values, we create a place where it's safe to bring new ways of thinking, to bring your hopes, your dreams. This is a new model in business where the company can be the sum of our individual aspirations, what we hold deep inside us to be the truth about our lives, that this company can be a reflection of that. That yes, we can be wildly successful financially, but we can also be wildly successful, and I'm just going to say this, spiritually. That our souls, or if you don't want to look at it on a spiritual level, that we feel a great sense of meaning through our work.
Andrew Bennett, inspiration at work. Andrew has over 2 decades of experience revitalizing organizations. As a manager at EDS, at the time an $8 billion Fortune 500 company, Andrew's Australian team grew their business by over 1,300%, from $5 million in annual revenue to $65 million in a 2-year period without adding additional resources. Along the way, he experienced a personal wake-up call that made him take the idea of inspirational work to a higher level.
This model is called managing by default because it starts with the assumption that business is about making money, and that's it, pure and simple. This model applies to us in our personal lives just as much as it does in our companies, though. If you think about it, if you've ever been kind of single-mindedly focused on something that you want to have, it can lead us to do things, and we end up becoming something that we're not happy with. I had this experience, not my first job, but my second job after college. I'd been out of school for about 1.5 years, and a friend of mine introduced me to this businessman that she said, "You got to meet this guy, he's pretty interesting guy." And it was Ross Perot. And so I went and met Ross Perot and talked to him. And we talked about business, and he talked about not why you need to go to work for EDS, but what you should build your business career around. And I got so excited by what he was saying that I went to work for him, and I reported my first 6 months to Ross Perot. It was a time in my life when I was trying to make my mark. And I believed that if I pursued certain things, if I went after what these certain things that I wanted to have would prove to the world and the people in my hometown that I was successful. It is, I got to have a certain kind of car, I got to have a certain job title, I've got to work for a company that people recognize, I've got to look really good on paper. And so in EDS, for those of you, and I know Mike, your sole focus is on EDS, right? Across the country. And so you know what EDS culture is like, and I don't know if any of you work with EDS or maybe you've come from EDS, but in EDS, at least in the old days, it was pretty clear, if you knew what it was you wanted to have, it was pretty clear what you needed to do in order to get that. The very first day that I was on the job, Ross came in, and let me just steal this chair. It was a group of 20 management trainees, and Ross jumped up on the table, not a chair, he jumped up on the table in front of the group, because he had to. And he said, "Gentlemen, over the calf black knee socks every damn day. You keep your hair off your collar, you wear a white shirt, red tie, blue suit. You ladies, none of them pantsuits." He went and he explained exactly what you needed to do in order to get what you wanted to have in that particular culture. And you can see, old habits die hard. I'm still wearing over-the-calf black knee socks to the beach, and that's what scares my wife. And it was very clear. But then, about 8 years into working with EDS, and I look good on paper. I'm still the youngest account manager in the history of EDS. At 28 years old, I got my own account in Australia. It was kind of the opening of the Pacific Rim for EDS. And I look good on paper. But then one night, it was one of those where you literally wake up in a cold sweat And I sat up in bed and I said to myself, I never thought that life would be like this for me. How did I get here? I so do not like the life that I'm living, and yet I thought it was the life I was supposed to be living. We believe that business is about more than making money. We believe that the pursuit of a greater purpose will result in all of us getting exactly what it is we want to have. But we're going to begin by looking at who is it that we want to be.
Andrew Bennett, inspiration at work. Andrew is well known as a caring, sincere, and genuine presenter. He builds trust and rapport quickly, enabling audience members to relax, trust, and become open to new ideas. Inspiration is a strategic advantage, and Andrew is concerned with your long-term performance. Andrew teaches long-term inspiration, not short-term motivation. He gives you plenty of ideas for sustaining inspiration long after the presentation is done.
When you go to meetings like this, you get inspired and you get excited, you get fired up. And then you go back to the real world, right? And there are challenges. And it's easy to come in conflict with the real world. I mean, when we sit in here and we talk about the values, it's a perfect world. But then you go into the real world and you say, well, which value is it? Is it loyalty? I want to develop loyalty with this customer. Or is it maximizing potential? Because if I do what it takes to keep this customer, I'm really going to lower our margins. That's a bona fide conflict. Great companies struggle with how do we have both. It's not either or, it's what they call the genius of the and. How do we have loyalty and maximizing our potential? But you'll get back into the real world and you'll feel that very real tension. You'll feel the call of maximizing the profitability, and if you get drawn into that, it can tear you up. And so let me just demonstrate that by tearing the newspaper. Like so. Now, the temptation will be when you hear people who are the naysayers poo-pooing, you know, oh, it's one of those corporate programs. You know, I saw them when I was at First Interstate. I saw them when I was at Bank of America. It's the flavor of the month. It'll never last. If you buy into that, this thing will not work, and it will tear you up. If you don't have that true, deep regard for human beings, that human beings are capable of making good decisions, if you're not capable of letting go of control, it will tear this effort up. And so what started out as a nice, coherent piece of reading material is a mess. And that's what the organization will be. And so what I want to ask you to do as a call to action is I want each and every one of you to take responsibility for being a steward of this culture. Each one of you is important. You are the leaders of this organization. You are the mentors, you are the coaches who are going to bring the vision, mission, and values to life in this organization. And if you do that, if you reference the vision, mission, values in your choices and decisions, you won't end up with a mess. You'll end up with something that makes sense, that's sustaining and enduring.
Andrew Bennett, inspiration at work. For more information, contact the provider of this video.